Hey everyone, welcome back to your week ahead astrology breakdown. I'm Matthew Oliver with Stillwater Alchemy, and this week we're primarily tracking the moon, given that it is the only planet that changes signs. And you might still be integrating that Leo full moon, especially if you have dominant Leo energy or fixed sign energy in your chart. So if that's you and you're still processing, be sure to give yourself time and space to reevaluate, rest, release, especially at the start of this week. And if you want a little bit extra support, my Leo full moon workshop is free on Stillwater Alchemy's channel. That one was very short and sweet because I wanted to put a lot of information in a very short period of time. And so far, the comments have been very beautiful and that it has resonated with a lot of people. So I'll put the link for that in the description below. In terms of announcements, I've been getting some questions on whether I'm traveling to a city or if people want to come to where I'm currently located, which is Vancouver, what the rate difference is in terms of one-on-one readings. And my rates are the exact same for in-person or virtual. So all those rates can be found on Stillwater Alchemy's website. And for those of you who really want to dig into the astrology outside of these week ahead breakdowns to further your own understanding and knowledge, my 2024 astrology guide goes into everything while also having additional resources to keep you on track to manifest, set certain goals, mantras, auspicious dates. It's all there. So also put the link to that 2024 astrology guide in the description of this video. Now, this greatest victory of the week submitted is hot, piping. I want you all to get the good china, brew a fabulous pot of tea, because this is miracles in action. I just came back from a Thai restaurant here in Palm Springs where I had jasmine tea, so I came prepared. This greatest victory was submitted by Claire Davis. Hey, Claire. And to put this in context, she submitted this 9 days ago. So it would have been on Thursday, January 18th. And on that day, the moon was in Taurus, conjunct Jupiter and Uranus in Taurus, and making a trine to Mercury and Mars in Capricorn. Matthew, exclamation point. My victory of the week that I must share with you because it's big. I've been feeling in a funk since the start of the new year as far as what the next steps in my music career should be, feeling discouraged by the industry, etc. I've been trying my best the past couple weeks to keep up with the meditating every day and grounding myself in my why. I've been listening to a lot of Abraham Hicks and thinking about law of attraction. Flash forward to Thursday night. Last night, as I post this, I was scheduled to sing on a soul show that I do every so often that covers the music of Otis Redding, Aretha Franklin, Ray Charles, etc. Music that is very near and dear to my heart. The company that books these shows ended up getting a call from an exclusive client that wanted to book us for an additional private show that evening. Come to find out the night before that the client was Drake. I was hired to play a private show for Drake. He bought his crew of about 20 people, including his parents, to watch me sing. He was very nice and engaged with the show, and I got to give him a copy of my record at the end. Can I put this on Moon conjunct my natal Jupiter? I'm still reeling. Just such a timely reminder that I'm worthy and deserving of big things. And I know in these videos and in our past client sessions, you always drive that message home, which I so appreciate. Had to come back here and listen again to the breakdown for Thursday. So congratulations, Claire. That is so phenomenal. And I think it's interesting that you brought up one, that Drake's parents were there. The moon, of course, represents the mother, but can also represent caregivers. The moon was in Taurus. Taurus rules the throat, feeling good through things connected to the throat, singing. The moon was also conjunct Jupiter in Taurus, so massive expansion. Claire also shared that her natal Jupiter is in Taurus. And I've shared this before in past content that it's very loud when you have a good Jupiter transit, especially if you're a date chart. And I've worked with Claire in the past, so I'm not going to disclose her chart. But even if we're just looking at the transits, like I said, Mercury and Mars were in Capricorn. So we had Mercury and Mars, commerce, things happening fast, conjunct Jupiter, and then the moon there as well. So it's a really good reminder because we were talking about earlier in the year how people were feeling confused or heavy or like things weren't working out. Remember, we had Mercury square Neptune. It was a very challenging or confusing time for everyone. And now that we're coming out, which I love that Claire brought up, she was still doing all of the foundational things to keep her steady in terms of meditating, in terms of listening to other spiritual gurus that she feels connected to. And that's the win, because when you are grounded, when you're in a state to receive love, knowledge, pleasure, rest, then you can be in a space to receive these massive blessings and not be tired, not be sick, not be overwhelmed, because you already made the space for it. And you were doing all the conditioning to get to that point. It's like when they said Beyonce trained 6 months or 9 months for a halftime show. Like, she did all the preparation so that she was ready for that monumental event. And we've had these in the greatest victories of the week in terms of spending a significant amount of time learning the lessons or getting ready. So when these monumental things happen, you don't get in your head, or you don't let the ego sabotage and being like, this is too good to be true, I can't have it. No. This was also one of the reasons I wanted to do this greatest victory of the week segment, is because we're all a community. Even if we don't physically see each other, connecting into these week ahead videos, connecting into this frequency of there are people watching this, or people that are a part of this community that are experiencing victories every single day. We all get to support one another. And I don't share all of the greatest victories. Some people email me them and don't want me to share. Some people put them in the comments, and I only share one per week, although maybe I'll share more. Let me know if you guys like to have more than one per week. But this is just one of the things where if you hear it over and over and over and over again, then you know it's about to happen for you, versus being in an environment where it's all negativity, worrying about the economy. Are things ever going to work out for me? Which one would you rather be a part of? Which frequency, which party do you want to be at? One where everyone's celebrating you and can't wait for you to win as well, or one where there's no one and the only person that is maybe there left a note saying how tragic the world is? You get to choose your party. I will leave that up to you. My greatest victory of the week, I've been traveling a lot, also in relation to work. And I've always just wanted to travel the world. Like, I love being on planes. I love traveling. I like connecting with different people from all walks of life. I like shopping in different cities. Like, everything about it is incredible. And I had a trip to New York, which was very impromptu. I booked relatively last minute just based on intuition, truly. And it was such an incredible trip, like galvanized me so much. And then I was home for 8 hours. And then I boarded another plane for Palm Springs to be here to learn from Kelly Surtees, who is a phenomenal astrologer, one of the best, in my opinion. So that's my greatest victory, is like literally living my dream life and just taking moments of being like, oh, yes, 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 yes. It all gets to work out on the perfect timeline. And just another thing to relay from Claire's story is that you can never miss out on blessings that are meant for you. And that was also a fun manifestation of Moon conjunct Jupiter, Moon conjunct her natal Jupiter, and then Moon in aspect to Uranus, like unexpected things. Like, this happened to Claire. This Uranus transit happened to her. And for those that are curious, you can look up Claire Davis on streaming platforms, or at Claire Davis Music on YouTube if you want to hear this angelic voice. I promise you will thank me later. So let us go into the transits for the week, shall we? So one thing I want to point out is that we're still coming off of this Venus-Jupiter trine. They're both still at 7 degrees. So I want you to really look at the Capricorn and the Taurus parts of your chart, because there's likely something that is either pleasurable or something that you've learned, because Jupiter can also represent that higher wisdom. Like, when you learn something very profound or something that makes your life significantly easier, no, it might not be a bag full of money on your front door, but it's going to help you acquire more money or more time or more resources or greater connection. So that can be an essence too, that this is something that I see in clients or even in my own life, that yes, Jupiter helps to grow, helps to expand, but can also give this great higher education or something that we want to learn that is going to be very pleasurable. And this is in Capricorn and Taurus, so earth signs, in terms of setting foundation, or potentially that you are wanting to make more money or greater, more stable relationships. And how does that look like? And also with the moon in Virgo opposing Neptune, This could very much be in relation to your dreams or needing to get very clear on how you're wanting to grow, how you're wanting to expand, and what's not working, or what could be made easier moving forward. And we also have Venus separating sextile to Saturn. So really over the past weekend, like from really the Leo full moon, where are your boundaries? Are they serving you? And where could they either expand or become more firm to help you pursue your dreams? And this is one of the things I was talking about at the start of this video, that if you need extra time to rest, to recalibrate, to just be, I know a lot of people are saying they're getting sick as well, like at the beginning of this year and then also currently. So if you're in that where you're just feeling exhausted, tired, run down, this is also a nice element of like, I just need to slow down. I'm trying to do a million and one things. I'm trying to pursue my dreams. I'm trying to connect. I'm trying to grow. I'm trying to manifest. I'm trying to this. Monday could be a really great opportunity where you lean on the support of a really benevolent feminine energy or feminine person in your life to help you heal or to help you grow or to help shift your mindset of like, I'm not in this alone. I know I can count on other people to help me, to help support me, which will then activate a new belief, which can also be very Jupiterian. So don't be afraid to ask for help on Monday. And if you're in a state to help others, know that that will go a long way if you're going to be of service, especially with this Venus, Jupiter trine. Now, Tuesday, we have the moon in Libra. So really, this is Tuesday and Wednesday. We have the moon in Libra co-present the South Node. This was going back to about boundaries, time, dreams, what's working, what's not. Because whenever we have any planet in Libra, it's really going to ask us what is fair, what is balanced, what is just. And with the South Node, if we're looking at certain things around the moon in terms of our emotions, our body, our home, our parents, our primary caregivers, what is balanced and what is not. And also the moon in Libra is going to be making square base aspects to Venus, Mars, and Mercury over Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, depending on your time zone. So this might be uncomfortable. This might be where certain conversations need to be had. And this can be something where it seems a lot harder in your head than it is in real life, because it might be one of those things where maybe it's between you and your partner and you are always taking the kids to school in the morning, but you really have connected with your Pilates class and your Pilates community. And the class is always at 8 a.m. And then they go out for smoothies after, and you really want to engage in that. But maybe having that conversation with your partner about making them take the kids to school or the kids maybe taking the bus is really making you uneasy. This can be one of those things where if we don't have those conversations, Libra being an air sign, how can any new structures form? Capricorn. And maybe your partner is like, yeah, no problem. I can easily change my work hours. I want you to be happy. I know you've always wanted community since we moved. Let's make this happen. So both can happen, but you have to be willing to step out of your comfort zone or maybe people pleasing or out of the mind so that you can see these activations happen. Because we also have the moon in Libra making trines to Pluto and the sun. So given that these are all in air signs, these things are going to benefit greatly from using your voice by shifting the mindset or by simply, it's like, how do you want to be seen and how do you want to connect with certain people, certain groups, certain friends? And this can also give you a lot of power in terms of maybe when other things in your past weren't fair or weren't just and you were afraid of speaking up. Now you know that your voice is so powerful, your thoughts are powerful, and that by speaking up and setting boundaries, then you can form these new foundations for the entirety of the next chapter of your life, or however long that's going to be for you specifically. Now, when we get to Wednesday, we have this exact moon south node conjunction, while the moon is also making that square to Mars. So Wednesday is probably going to be one of the more challenging days in the astrology. It could be where you're made to feel uncomfortable or where it's going to be very loud or very obvious what is not working. So one thing to look at is the Libra rule part of your natal chart and then the Capricorn rule part of your natal chart, because that will say where specifically all this energy is happening. And just to rewind a little bit, there's so much going on. Mars is making that trine to Uranus. So this Mars-Uranus trine on Tuesday could be where things are shifting, things are changing, maybe even out of your control. And Mars likes to accelerate things. Mars likes to have something to do or something to work on. So this might be a shift in passion, a shift in work, something that you always want to do. So if you are now passionate about the Pilates community that you are a part of, if you got a new promotion at work, then of course things are going to be shifting. So it could be a case of chicken and the egg in terms of something happening really quickly or that you can't control and then needing to recalibrate, or that recalibration for some of you, this might be very obvious of what no longer works. I need to release that for then to know that something really quick is going to replace that energy because now I've set a boundary so this energy can now flow in. And then the moon is also going to be making a square to Mercury. So I just feel, like I said, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, depending on the time zone, there are going to be conversations that need to be had or introspective journaling, introspective questions for you to really identify what no longer is balanced and what structures need to be changed for me to feel better about myself moving forward. And a lot of this for me has to do with mindsets and long-term planning with the Aquarius, Capricorn, and Libra places in the natal chart being activated. Yes, good. So Thursday, we see that the moon is still in Libra. It's separating from that square to Mercury, which is nice, at approximately 12:37 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. The moon will move into Scorpio, and it's going to make that square to Pluto. Now, this could be something where, yes, it can be very intense. Yes, it can be very emotional. I feel like if you have done the emotional work or continue to do the emotional grounding, therapy, breath work, all these things, then Thursday can be a very big emotional breakthrough where you're taking your power back or you've realized where your mind has been running the show. It could be one of those things like, oh, I've always thought in relationships I needed to play this part. Now that that isn't true, I'm seeing all the dominoes fall in other parts of my life where this old narrative has come through. And it might be literally feeling like such a strong ego death because that identity, that emotional trigger is no longer true because you've worked through it. But it can still be a lot, right? It's almost like if you have a loved one that you know is about to pass away because they've been dealing with something for a very long time, even though you know they're about to pass away, it doesn't make the process any less painful. Just like going to the funeral, just like grieving, that whole process can be very intense. So when we're going through Pluto transits, it can be the same thing where it's like just because you have the truth and the clarity or the death and rebirth doesn't necessarily mean it makes it any easier. So giving yourself time to mourn, to integrate, to be raw, to be tender would be very, very wise. And I will say that Thursday, Friday, depending on time zones, the moon is also going to be opposing Jupiter while in aspect to Pluto. So I do think that even if it is emotionally intense, there's going to be clarity. There's going to be something that will help you grow and expand. It might just be, again, if you have the opportunity to book in for energy work, for additional support, that, I mean, this entire week could be beneficial, but especially if you're someone that has early degree fixed sign placements, so Scorpio, Aquarius, Taurus, or Leo, just be aware that you might be very raw and tender on the change, upheaval, rebirth processes that are happening to you. All right. And when we get to Saturday, we have the moon in Scorpio making a trine to Neptune. So, depending on your chart and how you've been dealing with the week, you might be getting really good synchronistic signs. You might be getting really strong intuitive downloads. You might be getting a lot of beneficence or help from these spiritual foundational tools that you know to work. Of course, we also have the moon opposing Uranus here. So this could be something where it's instantaneous, a quick change with your emotional well-being or topics of the Scorpio real part of your chart and the Taurus real part of your chart. But one thing I'll say for this entire week, but especially when the moon is in Scorpio, is be sure to feel the feelings. Do not run away from them. Do not try and hide. Do not try to make excuses as to you're too busy. In order to heal, we have to feel. We have to feel everything, in order to really make sense of it and to know who and what is in our corner, who to reach out to, the time and space that we need to heal. That's going to be very, very apparent this week, okay? And then Sunday is like the ultimate rest day, in my opinion. Mercury is in that final degree of Capricorn. The moon in Sag is making a square to Saturn. And this might also be a time too where you are reevaluating things and blocking off time for that emotional work, that spiritual work, that healing. You're like, you know what? February, I'm going to get everything in line, get everything in order so that I feel supported. I know I want to have fun, moon and Sag, but I also know that these emotional triggers or this emotional work can't be ignored any longer. Saturn in Pisces. And then we also have the moon in Sag making aspects to Pluto and the sun. So there could be, again, just really good revelations of the mind. You could be connecting with like-minded people. You might also find different communities or groups that are going to be supportive of this, kind of going back to like the Pilates example, or maybe there are certain groups of friends or people that you're like, I want to make it a priority to connect with them because we have the same beliefs, we have the same ethics, we have the same values. That is the type of energy that I want to connect with, even if it's just virtually, or maybe I'm going to plan a trip to see like my closest friends or my family. This is really important to me, and I'm not going to keep making an excuse as to why I can't be with people or be with groups of people that are going to lift me up and help support me in this way. All right. Boom. So for the astrology question of the week, this comes from Christina. Hey, Christina. Hi, Matthew. I recently learned that I've gone through an 18-month Neptune-Neptune square, and it for the last time coming close again, but not completely exact with my 24-degree, 40-minute degree Neptune in Sag, my first house. Since Neptune now finally stationed direct, I've researched a bit and completely resonate with the test in faith and unclarity in how/what I've been wanting to work with exactly. I never thought I needed or could have the amount of faith I have now coming out of this transit, or my now ability to the surrender to the unknown daily to a mind-blowing extent because of my tenacity through such prolonged time. And though it hasn't been the easiest at all, the rewards are thousand-folds. I'm very curious to hear your take on Neptune-Neptune transits, sextiles and trines too, since the square is just once in a lifetime, but maybe a very noticeable one for many, question mark. Thank you as always for your wisdom and for your weekly forecast. You know I use them and your yearly astrology guide to plan to be aware every single week and have since you started. Appreciate you so much. Thank you, Christina. So Neptune as a planet can represent dreams, fantasy, illusion, things that can appear nebulous or that we can't really see but can feel, right? It's also linked to Poseidon, which is the god of the seas. It can be a very intense emotional energy. Neptune also dissolves boundaries. So it can be one of those things where it's like, it doesn't make sense, but I feel this so strongly. I'm willing to throw away everything I know to connect with this feeling. It's kind of like the end of the Sex and the City movie, the first one, where Carrie comes back and Big is in the penthouse with the shoe. And she's like, it didn't make sense. And then they just embraced and got back together again. Like for me, that's very Neptune because nothing else makes sense. It's just based on an emotion, a deep emotion. So as Christina pointed out, Neptune transits, especially with transit Neptune square your natal Neptune, happen approximately every 42 years because Neptune will change signs every 14 years. So what I like to say is looking at the houses in which Neptune is in, because that's going to be a really big indication as to what's going on. So Christina shared that her first house is ruled by Sag, which means that transit Neptune is in Pisces, which is her fourth pole sign house. One thing to note is Christina was saying that she's been in this for 18 months. Depending on the astrologer, depending on what type of orb you use for outer planets, Uranus, Neptune, and Pluto, most astrologers will use a smaller orb of 1 degree or less. Because I think sometimes it can be really daunting for people to hear, like, oh, like I'm going to be going through a Neptune-Neptune transit for a year and a half, 2 years, 3 years for a Saturn return. Even for a Saturn return, yes, it can last 3 years, but the more intense part of that Saturn return is going to be when transit Saturn is hitting your natal Saturn. A good example of this is your solar return, your birthday. You don't have a birthday party every single day of your season, unless maybe you're a Leo. No offense, Leos, I love you. But most people look at that one day, their birthday, and put all their energy on that day. Generally speaking, you might have a birthday weekend, a birthday week, but that can be the same thing with these outer transits. You're not going to say Neptune is 4 degrees aspecting my natal Neptune. You will feel it, but the direct manifestation is when it's going to be to the degree, to the minute. So, in terms of Christina or anyone watching this, if you want to track any of the outer planets, Neptune, Uranus, Pluto, you can go to the exact minute as when it's going to be most profound. Now, if we're talking about Neptune trends, like I said, first look at the houses. So, Christina, first and fourth, self and home, just very basic. One thing I'm also very cognizant of with Neptune, it's you can feel everything so much more strongly. So if Neptune dissolves boundaries and you can be very emotionally raw, if you were in a home or an apartment building that was not conducive to your creativity or to you feeling how you want to feel, then you're like, oh, I'm really upset with this home or this living residence that I'm in. It's really stifling me. But maybe it was really hard for you to speak your mind. So now you're kind of forced, in order to make your living situation better, you have to speak your mind so that you can feel better in your home. Because in terms of advocating for yourself and who you are, that's a very first house energy. Now, to add on to this, which Christina didn't mention, but you might have other planets in the mix that are being aspected, either by transit or in your natal chart. So this is just looking at a Neptune square. Specifically, in terms of other aspects, just to go very briefly, I don't think I'll have enough time to go through every single aspect, but generally speaking, sextiles and trines are more benefic aspects of Neptune or any planet. So Neptune positive manifestations can be great creativity, spirituality, your connection to the divine, feeling really good or feeling like you're at your favorite resort with all of your family, just feeling really good and feeling in a state of flow. That can be a strong Neptune energy. If you're facing a square, an opposition, or a conjunction, and this isn't just with Neptune, this can be Neptune conjunct your Mercury. This could be Neptune square your ascendant. We're not talking about Neptune transit in general. But when it's a square opposition, you'll feel very strongly about certain things, and especially in those house topics. I'll give a very quick personal example. Neptune is currently in my third house, and it's aspecting my ascendant. And over the past year, I've been getting a lot of feedback and compliments around my voice and how people think it's this, think it's that. And Neptune is also positively aspecting my natal Mars. Mars is also the ruling planet of my MC, which is your career angle. So Neptune in sextile to my ascendant, trine to Mars. And I started doing a lot more voiceover work this year and like really enjoying the process, going really deep into it, getting inspired, allowing my dreams to unfold. Dream, fantasy, your literal dream life, that's all Neptune as well. And so for me, it's like, oh, this feels really good. It's kind of like when you have that deep intuition and deep knowing that no matter what anyone says around you, you know it's going to work because like this inner knowing that can also be a strong Neptune transit. So I trust that helps to clarify things a little bit. As Christina pointed out, everyone at around age 42 will be experiencing that Neptune square in their chart, no matter what. But if you want to go even more specific, you can look at where transit Neptune is and how it's going to be aspecting planets or angles in your natal chart. And I mentioned this at the beginning when people were saying, like at the beginning of the year, things were feeling heavy or nebulous or not making sense. Remember that Mercury was retrograde in Sagittarius, which it does not have strong dignity in Sagittarius, and is making a square to Neptune in Pisces. So for any of us trying to make sense of things of like, why isn't this working? Why are my dreams working? Why is everything so hard? Why am I exhausted? Why am I sick? This was like around like December 25th, all the way until Mercury entered back into Capricorn. So it's been a minute. I just want to help to relay that as a retrospective that we already experienced a really challenging Mercury Neptune transit for everyone. So you guys can just understand that, okay, if we have another challenging Neptune transit in a natal energy like we do on Monday with the moon opposing Neptune or in our own chart, that it gives us more grace to maybe say no to things or to get extra rest because we might be feeling tired or lethargic or like things don't make sense and we just need more time to breathe and to be. But yeah, Neptune transits can be very dreamy, very magical, but they can also be a lot. One final thing I wanted to share in terms of a first fourth house transit, like if you think of a giant wave of water or like a giant tsunami, it doesn't matter how strong the walls are or how strong your boundaries are, that water is going to decimate that. And unless you restore the walls or build the home higher, you're at risk for that giant wave to come again. The giant wave in this metaphor being Neptune. So if you go through a very tricky Neptune transit, or Neptune is retrograding on top of a major planet or angle in your natal chart, then what you experienced the first time, where do you need to shift things or place boundaries in different areas of your life so that when you go through that Neptune transit again, you know what needs to be done to help you move through that energy a lot easier. And I think that no matter how strong your boundaries are, how smart you are, how grounded you are, it can just catch you off guard, or it can just feel a really intense energy of emotion, or you're not giving yourself enough time to dream and to rest. And of course, you learn more about Neptune transits the more you experience them in real time. So, for any of you who have late degree mutable placements or water placements or earth placements with Neptune getting all the way to 29 degrees of Pisces this year before it retrogrades, anyone in those late degrees, you will experience a Neptune transit. So feel free to share or to let all of us know as you experience those Neptune transits because they're beautiful and emotionally intense. All right. So that's all from me. I'm wishing you all a beautiful, restful, healing week, and I'll talk to you soon. Bye.